Hello everyone, it is the build-up show. Liverpool take on Manchester United at Old Trafford this weekend in what is, yet again, Chris, the biggest game of the season.
This is always the biggest game of the season, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, and rightfully, it's the biggest game of this season as well, and it certainly feels like that because I feel like the result of this game is going to go a big way in deciding whether Liverpool are going to be title winners or title runners-up.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's must not lose. I don't think you have to go and win at Old Trafford, but you can't lose this game for everything that it gives for Manchester City. It's our game in hand. We need to go there. We need to shove it down Manchester United fans' faces. We need to give it Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We need to inflict that first league defeat on them. We need to walk out there with our heads held high and Manchester City going, damn.
Yeah, I think it's funny, something you've been saying to me for a few weeks, that this is one of those games, I think if you walk out of Old Trafford with 3 points, it doesn't win you the league. This is the problem we're having all season long, is individual games at the time do not win your league, apart from the one where it's mathematically impossible for anyone else to do it. But it's got all the hallmarks of one of those ones that we're going to look back on.
No, I actually do. I have said, and I do think that if we win this game, then we'll win the league. Yeah. Because I think the psychological damage it will do to City will be that great, because they've still got to face that task by going to Old Trafford, and they're still 3 points behind us. Yeah. And we played the most difficult game we've got left. Yeah. So
yeah, it's as Chris said there, Tom, it's such a massive game, and our record at Old Trafford is horrendous, and it's always been horrendous. I look back, we've only won there twice in the last 10 years. Going back 10 years ago, we beat them in 08-09, we beat them 4-1 in one of the most famous games of all time, that wonderful, wonderful grey kit. And we beat them 3-0 in 13-14. The interesting point in that is our two most recent title challenging seasons, we've gone to Old Trafford and got the business done.
Yeah, and I feel like we're in that moment again, aren't we? We're in that really... Everyone's very positive about the team. I think we've just got loads of options back as well. So Klopp's got loads of different ways that he can go about it. And you're looking at... The big thing for me is how PSG basically took them apart. And for how good they've been recently, a big team went there, played against them, and just played them off the park. And I really feel like, look, we've gone toe-to-toe with PSG this season.
Yeah.
All right, second leg when they went for it, PSG battered us because they've got some amazing players. But at Anfield, we really, really did go toe-to-toe, and we obviously came away with the win. And I feel like we're going to go there in the same vein. We're going to go, we're just as good as PSG. See how they dismantled.
And we're not even a full-strength PSG by all accounts as well, not without Neymar.
I really feel like Klopp's got the tactical advantage over Solskjaer. I feel like he's got more in his locker in terms of what he can do with this team. He's had it for longer. Look, United aren't a pushover team. They're very, very good. They've got some fantastic players in there. We've known that. But we did the business last time they came to us. We were worried, and then we went, nope, sweep them off the park, and we did it.
Yeah, because how are you feeling about this? Because we started to record our build-up content for this prior to Bayern. We did some stuff with Mark from United Stand, and I was feeling confident. Has the Bayern game changed? You think? Has it made you more confident? Has it made you less? Or
No, I think I'm as nervous for this game as I always will be. I fear Manchester United because I fear the likes of Marcus Rashford, the form that Pogba's in. I think they've got some great players who are playing really well at the moment. I think they're playing with a freedom that Liverpool won't be able to play with this weekend. And I think, Solskjaer's playing for his job. So he's got something that he wants, that long-term Manchester United role. So he's got something as much as Klopp's got something, and the Liverpool side have got something, and the players have got something to prove, that they'll want to show the world that they're not as far behind Liverpool as they look on the table right now, and they'll want to blame Jose Mourinho for that. So I think they're a wounded animal at the moment, and they're a danger to us, and the rivalry just adds to all of that.
I think we've just recorded the final word show for Bayern, Dad, and I think if you, from an outside perspective, people are taking a cursory glance at Liverpool looking at this game, you might think, well, Liverpool drawing at Bayern, and they've had a few draws recently, maybe Liverpool aren't the great form. I think the way we approach the Bayern game and the way we played by and large, with some of the injury problems and fitness problems we've had, I take real encouragement from that going into Old Trafford. I certainly don't feel any worse about this game than I did prior to it.
I read in the paper this morning, Liverpool have only had one win in 4 games. They're not, they're really in poor form at the moment. I thought to myself, that's not the Liverpool I'm watching.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the thing about United is you don't know really yet what they're like, whether they're any good. I mean, they played Chelsea, played them off the park, but Chelsea were absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
So does that mean United were not as good as they looked?
Yeah.
You know, but then they went to Tottenham and won, which is difficult, you know. And then Paris Saint-Germain went there and made them look like idiots.
Yeah. So
you just don't know what United are like. It's a difficult one to be confident about because you know how they score goals and how. What I can predict is they will come at us like butcher's dogs in the first 10 minutes and really, really put us under the cosh. And if we survive that, settle the game down like Paris Saint-Germain did, then I think we'll beat them. But,
that's my real feeling on this that's what you were saying there, Tom, about Solskjaer not having had this team for very long. They fundamentally had to change how this team plays football, and a lot of that is it's freedom and it's giving the responsibility back to the players on the pitch. Them having a couple of injury doubts, I think, helps us certainly. Martial and Lingard, we don't know whether either of them will be involved, but if not, they're not certainly going to be at the absolute peak of fitness. It's that thing of I agree with that. They'll come when tactical nous and having things drilled into you. That comes to the fore when you hit a brick, where you have a flurry and then it doesn't knock your opponent out. That's when you fall back on what's been drilled into you, and they shouldn't. They might do, but they shouldn't have that as well as Liverpool have got it.
I'll be really interested to see how they set up against us. I want to know if they're going to sit back, catch us on the break, which I expect, and the only worry after that Bayern game is just how much, not how badly our fullbacks played, but in terms of defensively, they got ripped a few times, and I feel like Rashford's going to just go at Trent, isn't he? He's really going to go at him, especially was it last season when he just ripped him apart. Fantastic player as well, and he's in a good bit of form. I think. Look, Van Dijk's coming back in, Joe Matip's playing really well, defensively was solid, and as long as we have that midfield in there, and we'll talk about the teams later, but the way I want to play, I feel like we'll have enough covered in there to be able to protect those flanks very well. Pogba being let loose is the big thing for me, and the way that he's been playing lately, the way that just an extra spurt of just going, I'm this player, I'm showing everyone what I can do now, I'm being let loose, I can play them passes over. As long as we can protect ourselves from that long ball over the top to Rashford and just make sure that we're solid, I think we'll be all right, but it's going to be tough.
We're going to have to, we don't know whether they'll play Sanchez or they play Lukaku, and it'll be a different game, whichever one plays, But, Sanchez has not got the pace that Martial has. And Lingard, so in that respect, they're not going to play that. They're not going to be able to play that game, the over-the-top game, as well without those two.
Listen, I've sat here and extolled the virtues of Manchester United, and I'm nervous and I'm fearful of them and stuff. That doesn't mean I don't think Liverpool are going to win, by the way, because I think Liverpool are a scary side to face as well. I think when you look at our front three, when you look at their defence, I think we've got the better of it. I just think it's an incredibly difficult atmosphere that we'll be going in, and you know what? I think these are the types of games where you can hang your hat on a team and go, well, if you go there and you do, and you are good enough to win the game, then you are good enough to go and win this Premier League title. And these are the type of games where you show your mettle, isn't it, almost? And I think Liverpool will be able to do that. I think Klopp, as Tom says, and as John has mentioned, has the better of it. We've only seen one time where a huge side has gone into Old Trafford and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had to set his side up in a different manner, and he's failed. That's the one game that we can look at and take confidence from. I think that's tactically how they'll set up against us. And other than that, listen, they've played some good football and stuff, but that's the one. We're coming off playing a European giant in Bayern Munich, and we do 0-0. They're coming off, or they've had the Chelsea game in between, going up against the side that's not got as rich a history in Europe, that doesn't get as far in the competition as Bayern Munich, and got a heavy defeat. So whose result was better? Well, ours was miles better, wasn't it?
I think it's one of those games where Ander Herrera, their fans, they sing the praises of Ander Herrera, and he'll be vital to how their midfield functions. But Pogba, I think this resurgence of Pogba was very interesting, because I still feel like he's one of those lads that when his head's in the game and he's at the peak of his powers, he's unplayable because he's so good at football. And I think technically, physically, I think he's better than all our midfielders. I'd love to see him and Fabinho go toe-to-toe, and I think that's why it's so important for me to get Fabinho into the midfield. Fabinho, go and give him a kick and see where his head's at, see if he can raise his game, because we've seen it happen at Old Trafford as well. If the game isn't going his way, he he struggles to fight against the tide to get himself back in the game. You know, he's not the kind of lad who goes back to basics. He's the kind of lad who tries more and more ridiculous things to kind of dig himself out the hole.
He's got a Balotelli bit.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Funny if I said exactly the same thing on the other build-up, but that's where you'll know when when we're winning the battle in this game, is when Pogba starts misplacing simple passes or trying increasingly mad things and them not coming off. And then I think that transmits to the team when he's super confident and everything's going well. I think everyone else plays better as a result, because he's their most technically gifted player. That's the player you want to turn around and look at this lad, and everything feels like it's within his sphere of influence, because that'll make you want to play better. And equally, the Rashford thing, Tom, you mentioned it. Trent gave him a ton of time. You know, if I'm big, and I don't think Trent will need bigging up for this game, but I'd be going and saying, look, you had a bit of a tricky time. Some of that was Lovren's fault as well. Let's not forget, Lovren had a very poor game, particularly first half in that one. Trent, you went to a European Cup final off the back of that game. Trent is Rashford's a better player, sure. I think he's got 6.
Rashford's played a lot more on the right under Solskjaer as well, so it may well be it's Robertson who's got to deal with it.
Yeah, could well be.
You're about Sanchez on the left.
You're about to say that he's a Scouser. He's coming up against this massive rival. He doesn't need G'ing up, because he knows what it means for everyone. These are one of the games where the Scousers in the team just go, no, let's go, and tell people don't need tell them how important this game is, but you want him to put a cruncher in. It's what even Flano did for Sterling early on in the Man City games, and it's what Trent's been good at. It's what Robbo's good at. Yeah. It's your fullback saying to these wingers, no, I'm going to stop you there. And it's what Matip did brilliantly to Lewandowski in the Bayern game, like you were talking about in the final word. Bang into them. I'm coming in hard every time. You need to think. You got your back to goal, or you stepping up to me? I'm going to hurt you. The second thinking it, and it's split second stuff. Rashford's still got the skill, we know that, but Trent is brilliant on his day. And if he has the game that he can, especially in an attacking sense, and I want to speak in my formation, he's going to be a massive part of that as well, and I think he's going to have a great game.
Just while we've been talking, I know we're going to do the preferred 11s in a bit, but I think it's worth talking about James Milner for a minute. Because while we've all been talking, I didn't put James Milner in my preferred 11. I'm starting to think Fabinho, Henderson, Milner. There's no love lost there in that midfield, is there? Everyone, Herrera, Pogba, if Mata plays, they're getting the life kicked out of them if you go with that midfield today. Yeah. Milner's one of those players who would go in on Pogba hard and make sure that he knows he's in a game, and he'll chase him down, and he won't wait for him to come near him. He'll go in, and I was just starting to think about it then, thinking, I wonder if Milner's a really solid choice for this game.
Milner is a very interesting shout, and in terms of getting the crowds up, getting our fans. When we saw Dad, when he came off the bench against Bayern, he put a couple of those.
Shove someone into a barrier.
Terrific little cameo, wasn't it? I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He was probably man of the match for 10 minutes.
Did it to Neymar as well.
I quite liked it. I think he might well play. He's not in my preferred 11 either, because I want us to play a side which is going to rip United to shreds and win 10-0. But it's more likely the Klopp is not so stupid, and he'll put in a bit of steel into the middle, because after all, you say Matip and Herrera, are pretty tough, and they're like the bedrock on which their attack, builds, so.
Yeah, it is interesting. We'll come to preferred 11s in a second. Then before we do, I'm going to throw in a little advertising break for a piece of content that I haven't thought about yet. So here's this.
This is the Man United game's the biggest game this week, surely?
Yeah, it is for me as a Liverpool fan, because had maximum points been picked up against West Ham and Leicester, I don't think it would be the biggest game of the season. But with Manchester City, being on top but playing a game more, this is Liverpool's game in hand against Manchester United. Last time out at Anfield, it was a fantastic result, but ultimately it ended probably the worst manager's reign that United have had. And they've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in, who's come in and done well. But I think we saw in the Champions League the other night that he's done quite well, but has he done well enough to take them to that next level? So that's my only hope. But yeah, if there's any game I could have said that I didn't want Liverpool needing to go into as a must win, it's Manchester United away at Old Trafford, being looked after by a caretaker manager who's played and won trophies and won the treble and single-handedly won them a trophy and knows everything about what's between the two clubs. He's got Ferguson on his shoulder and in his ear. It is the worst possible game for Liverpool.
The Newsroom podcast with Chris Williams. Fantastic. And Chris Pajak.
There we go, thank you.
There we go. Chris Pajak's Newsroom show.
There we go.
With special guest Chris Williams. That's out on Friday on the redmentv.com. Make sure you go over, sign up. It's free for the first month. I've told you this plenty of times, but if you're new to it, go over there, get involved, have a little feel for what we do. There's interviews with Liverpool players, past and present. There's build-up content. There's analysis content. It's not just us sitting on couches. It's sometimes it's Chris sat on chairs. I think
if I don't get the right credit I deserve, I'm starting Padge TV, by the way. I'm taking the Newsroom to Padge TV.
It was
Thank
good,
you very
though.
much. It was belter, mate.
It was really good, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can come with me. Come work on Padge TV with me. Leave this Mate TV lark to
Well, it's
him.
just like the independent group.
So it's starting to happen. This is the Yoko Ono band versus
saw that
Wings
too,
here.
Chuka Rumuna and Luciana Berger here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fine. Preferred 11s then. Tom, you have gone back to the 4-2-3-1 for this one. Fabinho, Gini as the midfield axis, Shaqiri back inside. Shaqiri, I know he's had an injury, so he's not been available, but we've stopped talking about Jadon Shaqiri. We've stopped talking about him, and look, it's worth remembering that he's the reason that Jose Mourinho got sacked.
Yeah.
So this could well be the game for him to come back.
I've gone with that formation because I feel like I want our fullbacks to fly up and I want that covering in there. So you've obviously got Gini and Fabinho. They can do that all day. They can stop anything in attack midfield, in my opinion. But what it is, I really want to see that ball from the fullback straight into Bobby Firmino's feet. We saw just how good he is when it gets to his feet. We saw it against Bayern. Ball's going directly to his feet, and I just want them runners going past him. I want Shaqiri to pick up the ball and spray it to Mane and stretch them. Like, that's what that formation's fantastic at. And I feel like, yes, Mo Salah is fantastic on the right hand side, but he drifts there anyway, even if he is set up in the centre, so I don't think we miss out too much. I just like that fluidity, and I feel like if we have 4 people running at United, yes, they've got Herrera and Matic, fair enough, but them 4 players are scary. And then, look, if that doesn't work, at the end of the day, you bring on Keita with their fresh legs, and that's fine as well, but I feel like that's the strongest thing that you can put out. And that is scary. We're talking about being worried about United. United, if they see that lineup, will have to be on their best form.
Well, that's a good point. That's as we've seen this season. It's our 4 best attacking players, our 4 biggest goal threats, pretty much on the pitch when you put Shaqiri in there. You've gone, and same as Chris, actually stuck with 4-3-3. Obviously, Van Dijk will be back in. Fabinho, therefore, restored to the midfield. Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Keita.
It's the same team as we played against Bournemouth, apart from Trent coming back in. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's going to be 4-3-3 all the way now till the end of the season. I just think we want to play as well as we played at the end of last season in the big games.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it.
I think we need a big performance. And as your Bournemouth is good, but albeit it's Bournemouth. I think for me, to settle my nerves on 4-3-3, because I just don't think we've been great in it this season. We need a big performance against a big team, and I think that will allay a lot of fears. And there's no reason why it shouldn't work. I mean, God, the front 3 is as good a front 3 as you're going to get. Fabinho finally seems to be integrated into that, although we need more evidence of that. We need to see him again in a big game. And
Keita's starting to get better with each game.
Yeah.
So why drop him now? You know. I mean, I think there is a big shout for Shaqiri. I was a bit surprised he didn't come on against Bayern, given it's his old club.
He had that groin strain, didn't he? I think he's probably...
But he was on the bench, wasn't he? So, 10 or 15 minutes.
It was a narrative we didn't even pick up on, the whole Shaqiri Bayern thing. You're right. When I looked at him on the bench, I thought, is he looking the last 10 minutes just to get something out of him? But it does make you think, and it's not something, again, you've gone for the same 11, Chris. It does make you wonder whether, same with James Milner, to be fair, as you mentioned earlier, whether these lads are being kept for this game so that we do have some completely fresh legs to drop.
Maybe so. I think, for me, personally, I think Shaqiri's gone off the boil, which is why I wouldn't be looking at a 4-2-3-1 with him. I think, the last few times that he did play, I don't think he had the impact of earlier in the season, like the likes against Manchester United earlier on and stuff. So for me, I'm with John. We picked the same side for a reason. I think it's about I think this is the game for Naby Keita to announce himself to Liverpool fans. And is there a bigger stage to do that than at Old Trafford as Liverpool steamroller them? There isn't.
No.
You know, I think
it's a big pitch as well. You know, you might have just a bit more room.
That midfield battle is where this game's won and lost for me. And, you know, I know Mark said exactly the same thing when he was speaking to us. I think Naby Keita, Matic is a good player, but he's over the hill for me. He can be gotten at. And I think somebody with Naby's skill set will confuddle and confound him.
Wow.
It sounds like that was from like some kind of Harry Potter spell, wasn't it? Like,
sure, so that would.
And I think that's the type of player that he'd struggle against. So nippy, probably run through his legs as he opens them wide, and go on and belt one in.
Yeah, exactly. Away from the hotel concierge, like,
you could definitely run through the legs of Pogba. Pogba's so much taller.
Yeah. I just think that midfield three is the key battleground, and if we get that midfield three right, we win the game.
The only slight alteration to that I went, and it was more for a conversation, but which we've largely covered now, but it was Milner in the midfield, but instead of Gini Wijnaldum for me, just how tired I thought he looked at the back end of the game. He's put some, on the back of having been ill and put in some big shifts. I wonder whether this might be one game too far. Don't get me wrong, Gini Wijnaldum should be in every Liverpool midfield. I think if he's fully fit and available. But Tom, you mentioned it earlier. For the first time in a few weeks now, we do have options. Yeah. There's no James Milner. There's no great loss to Liverpool's midfield. James Milner was having a fantastic season up until the point where we've had a few injuries, and we've had to play him fullback. So and again, it's that blood and thunder. I think it's key to get Fabinho back in there. I think it's key to keep Keita in there just to see what he can do. And yeah, James Milner had a bit more of a combative edge. Yeah. I wouldn't like to see Henderson, Gini, Milner the midfield in this game, but I think you're not losing creativity, but you're adding battle.
I mean, if Milner comes in, it has to be a 3 for me. I just don't want to see him in a 2. I wouldn't be, if you're talking about Gini being tired there, I think Fabinho and Hendo, we saw that the other week, didn't we? And that was fantastic as well, especially the way Henderson played the other day. I'd be just as happy with that. I mean, I understand everything you're saying with the 4-3-3 because it is so free-flowing and that's the thing. Either formation coming out, we have the players now. We've got different players for different situations. Milner, Keita, Fabinho, I'd love to see that. The 2 with Gini and Fabinho, Hendo and Fabinho. Fabinho's got to get back in there because he's just been imperious in every position we put him in. Put him in number 10. Why not? And just see what he can do and tell him to bully people. But he'll get that far up the pitch anyway. I'm a lot less nervous than I was just before we start rolling this because we talked through it and I was thinking about United and their players, but no, we're talking about options. We're talking about different styles of play. Yeah. We're talking about how we have everything we need to beat this United team and then go on to the next game against Watford and then go on to the next game against Everton. We've got the rotation. We've got everything we need. And that's a testament to just how well Klopp's bought and set up this season.
Just on the Milner thing as well, I think you're spot on. I think, you know, having him in there will give us that combative edge, I think, with the words that you use. But one thing that you've not mentioned, I'm sure you'll have thought of this when you're putting your side out, it's that experience. At this time of the season, when you want to win a league title, someone with James Milner's experience in the middle of the park can't be underestimated.
Yeah, completely. The only other one, actually, I failed to mention, again, because it's preferred, I had Lovren at the back. I don't know whether he's going to make it.
Little Red Ride, I know what you mean. Did you not see it?
God, yeah. Dark Lord of the Sith.
But would you rather Matip or Lovren on, like, think about the last games that they played, like the last 3. Matip's been really good. Like,
and to be fair, Lovren, we mentioned it earlier, had a shocker at Old Trafford last season.
And there's an argument that he's been out too long to just come back into a game.
There's also an argument that Fabinho's actually the second best centre-half with Gomez out, to be fair. Like, and genuinely, if we've got the midfield options, why the frig not?
There might well be all of those things. For me, I think Matip's been absolutely fine. This doesn't feel like the Matip game for me. And again, look, it's proved that it can be a problem for Lovren. That if it's Lukaku, I'd rather have Lovren going up against Lukaku. I just think there's games where you need Matip's composure on the ball and you need him picking the passes. I don't know.
It's interesting you say that because I do stats for the starting 11. Matip wins by far the most aerial duels in the team, by far, and Fabinho's just close. Yeah. So Matip's winning 7.3 in the Premier League. That's unreal. So if the ball's getting pumped long, I don't know. I'd rather.
He's also targeted more than Van Dijk, to be fair. Like,
it's interesting because now I've said it, I'm pretty sure if we rewound to the final word post Old Trafford, I was like, I'd have started Matip in hindsight after Lovren's performance. I don't know. It's one of them. I've missed Lovren to be honest. I think Matip's been absolutely fine. But again, going back to that having that edge, just having someone who just wants to be a bit more. But if Matip can put in the level of aggression though that he did against Bayern Munich, then I think maybe there's slightly less problems in that regard. But yeah, as a talking point, if nothing else,
it's not often we get. And I agree with everything you've said there about Matip, by the way. But it's not often we ever see him get a run of games, is it? You know, we never see him get 10. 15 games, and he's always gets better each and every week. I think we've seen that. I think Tom's just referenced
I'm always
it.
against changing your defence if you don't have to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just quickly looking at the other fixtures being played this weekend. Spurs travel to Burnley on Saturday.
Away win.
But that's good for them. There's a narrative I think around this weekend, and bear with me because I'm going to go off on a flight of fancy because why not? That's what we're here for. We're here as Liverpool fans to spin the best possible story in favour of Liverpool Football Club. Spurs putting the pressure on Manchester City from behind. They're absolutely down for that. If we go and get
they
those...
They do love to put the pressure on, Paul.
They do, very good at it, but do what they do. Do what you do, Spurs, put that pressure on. We go and get those 3 points, because as mentioned earlier, it's our game in hand, that's what it is. If you can go and get those 3 points at Old Trafford, City, will they be able to avoid that result? I don't know, because I think that game's after ours, isn't it? The League Cup final.
I think there's a 4:05 kick-off.
But they're going to go into that game with the cup, with a trophy to play for, but there's just that thing of, do you take your eyes off that prize for a second? Because are you able to not look at the Premier League? Are you able to look, and all of a sudden you're not top of the league. You're playing a massive, competitive, serious game of football that has no impact on the Premier League all of a sudden. And the whole thing's been squeezed. Liverpool are stretching away, and Spurs are catching up, and you can have no impact on that with this game of football that you're about to get into. And look, they will, because they're elite sportsmen. They'll be able to focus on, their focus is winning the pot, winning the piece of silverware. Absolutely fine. And largely you'd expect them to wipe the floor with Chelsea. I've got a sneaky little feeling that Chelsea do engineer something in this game. And that's the way, that's for me the perfect case for Liverpool. Spurs win, we win, and Chelsea just do something, and then the first chinks in the armour start to show. The quadruples off, and they become vulnerable all of a sudden.
Just give them a tough game. That's all you need.
Me and you spoke about this off camera. I think they're going to win 4 or 5-0 in the cup final.
Yeah, Chelsea are garbage. They are and you're watching them, and they've got no impetus to do anything.
And they don't want to.
Yeah, but
they don't give a shit.
They play far too slowly.
But then
really ponderous.
It's another game for City to play, and you're talking about it there. It's another one where they've just got to go again. And hopefully it's a little bit of extra fatigue towards the end of the season, and it'll build up, and they'll take their eye off the ball like they did against Newcastle, and then we'll have another bit of a lead. I'll be honest, I've said it for most of the season, like we do this rival fixtures thing, you've got to look at your rivals, but just don't care about it. Yeah. There's no point.
As we said, these are things that are cherries on the tops of your cake. It's icing on the top of the cherry on top, isn't it? You know, it shouldn't have a major impact on us, but it's one of those things that it builds up. And yeah, they are. I won't pay any attention to the Spurs game because I haven't really looked below second in the league for about 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever at this point. But I look forward to being able to look forward to that League Cup final, provided we go and get the business done at Old Trafford, because it's a nice game of football that matters not one jot. All I will be able to look at that game as, provided we've gotten a good result at Old Trafford, is every time a Man City player does a sprint, it's one less sprint they're going to have in the legs at the end of the season. Every time a Chelsea player puts a crunching tackle in, it's just.
I don't think they do that anymore, by the way.
David Luiz by accident, maybe.
Conte might just...
A fan to Barkley or to Sarri if Hudson-Odoi doesn't come on, who's clearly the saviour of Chelsea Football Club, if you watch any Chelsea fan talking, by the way.
Barkley's just going to pass it to Aguero every time again, isn't he? That game was horrible. Why are they playing again?
Horrible. But who knows? Let's all live in hope. But yeah, brilliant chance. Thank you very much. Score predictions before we wrap it up. Go on, Chris. I'll let you go first.
2-1 Liverpool.
Ooh.
3-0.
3-1.
I think it's going to be 2-0 to Liverpool. I think I predicted 4-3 earlier in the week. The more I think about it, the more I think, provided we do exactly what you said there, Dan, I think if we can contain them in the early stages of the game, I think we'll do what we've done all season long. If you keep it tight for 20, we'll grow into it, and I think we'll just flex our muscles as the game goes on. And I think 2, but if it's 3, I think it'll be a last minute.
It'd be interesting if we don't attack them from the off, so they can't hit us on the break. And then they'll start scratching their heads, thinking, "Well, what do we do now?"
Well, that's what I was saying kind of earlier on. What do they do if they do that? If they come out all fire and fury, and we play our game, we're United, and then it doesn't work. That's a big test.
Curdle milk, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. United. That's going to be Solskjaer's biggest test, and I like the notion of us. Of sacking Mourinho and then throwing that club right back into disarray, because that's what will happen. There's a groundswell of positivity towards him. They want Solskjaer to get the job, but if we can put a really good win in there, they'll still largely want it, I think. Yeah. But I think the division in their fan base will start exactly. And I still think he'll end up getting the job, because I think he'll do something like, they'll get to the FA Cup final, or they'll squeeze into 4th, and they'll maybe get to the FA Cup final, and that'll be enough. And that's just another thing of them settling at a level that's below what they should be settling for, and they won't even realise it till it's too late. Glorious. There you go. Join me on my flight to fancy Liverpool and world football. Honestly, my world is well better than the real world. So yeah, let's hope it is. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. That's been thoroughly enjoyable. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Do check out all the content on the redmentv.com. As I say, it's free for a month. Loads of brilliant stuff as we gear up towards one of the most, if not the most exciting season in the best part of 30 years. We're there for you, whether you need that, that cuddle of encouragement and help along the way, or whether you're just absolutely on it and you just want to fill your face with Liverpool content. We've got you covered. If you can't be asked with all that free stuff's there, build up with United stand on our channel and on their channel. Other than that, we shall see you post-match, hopefully with 3 points in the bag.